Sometimes a game comes along and it is regarded as being one of the best ever. Each generation has been defined by certain games. Once it was about getting the high score, getting to the end of the level, completing a story. What I have noticed over the last few years is that there has been a rise in popular single player games. It doesn't matter if it's first party like God of War or something that can come on all consoles, say Skyrim. This is a very good thing because video games can be a form of escapism, and big single player adventure RPGs are probably the best genre for me. This finally brings me to The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. This is one of those games described by many to be one of the best ever made. Now that's pretty bold, and naturally I can be judgmental of this until I've actually played it. I first got the game for Christmas on my Nintendo Switch, and I'll be honest, while I love the graphics, even for the Switch, something felt a bit off. I cannot have a go at the developers here because they did a terrific job porting this game over to the Switch. This shouldn't even be possible for a game which was meant to be made for more powerful consoles like the PS4, the Xbox One, as well as being on the PC. At least CD Projekt Red had a go at putting this on the Switch, and while it technically doesn't look as good as it would on other consoles, I commend them for doing it. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is one of those games you really need to invest your time in. It's another one of those games where there's so much shit to do, areas to explore, quests to complete, and a lot of leveling up, like Skyrim, like Breath of the Wild, like fucking Dark Souls. Okay, that last one might be stretching it a bit, but you get the point. I found it hard to try and get into The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Thus, I hardly played it for the first couple of weeks after getting it for Christmas. I was overwhelmed by the excessive amount of menus, items, the large amount of cutscenes dedicated to the story, and sometimes I felt the controls were a bit off somehow. For example, every time I wanted Geralt to ride his horse, I always pressed the wrong button. The same happened when I wanted to go off the horse. Sometimes I feel like the response time of the game was pretty slow when I pressed the button. I noticed this most when I wanted to enter a menu and look at my inventory. Just look at this, right? Look at me press the plus button here. Look how long it takes for the menu to come up. So it's like a second. So yeah, that's The Witcher 3. It's an alright game, but I think it's very overrated. Thanks for watching the review. Bye for now. And then a few weeks passed. I played the game again, and something clicked. I started doing more of the side quest. I did some research on how to play the game. I realised that I was wrong. There was no way I was going to settle for this game being just something average. It's considered one of the best ever made, and now I get it. Now I understand why. Something just clicked with me one day, and suddenly the controls felt natural for me. I got used to the slow response time going into the menu. You have to remember that this game should never have been put on a Nintendo Switch, given how less powerful it is compared to other consoles, so now I am forgiving of this. Basically what I'm trying to say is, I was a jackass. Like I said, it may not be the best way to experience the game, but when you play the game, especially on the Nintendo Switch, there's just something about it. Some may say it's not the definitive edition because the Switch version looks worse than, say, the PS4 version, but the truth is, a PS4 is not portable. The Switch is, though. Therefore, I'm going to do a complete U-turn here and say that actually, this is the best way to play The Witcher 3. Especially if you're one of those casual players. I found the quest compelling. I enjoyed some of the stories that came with it. As a player, you get to make the decisions for Geralt. Every dialogue decision you make can affect a quest. You either end up doing more favours for various characters, but if you respond in a way that they don't like, you end up engaging them in combat and killing them. Wow. Talk about brutal. Some of the dialogue is genius, and I think some of the storylines are some of the best we have ever had in video games. Each quest differs from one another. Can I talk in this fucking review or what? Each quest differs from one another, which is what this game needs. You can complete the main quest if you want, go look for Ciri, or you can do some side missions like helping out the townsfolk. One of my favourites so far is the missions you do for the Baron. Another is going into a cave with Keira Metz and fighting the Wild Hunt. There's some really cool shit in here. From all of this, I realise that Geralt has become one of my favourite characters in gaming history.
Chatter, stand and fight. I demand a rematch.
Ugly bastard.
I feel connected to this character, along with many others in this game. When you have a game of this scope with so many things to do, I get a great satisfaction out of this. As stupid as this may sound, when I say it out loud now, it almost feels like it's real. The sheer disbelief that I could not really get into this game because, in actual fact, this is indeed one of the greatest ever made.
Yes! Yes!
I remember one day recently, to rid my COVID-19 lockdown boredom, I must have spent well over 5 hours playing this non-stop. Take into account, I now have a full-time job, and these days, I'm lucky to even get to spend an hour on a game. But when you spend that much time on a game, you know it's something special. For me anyway. I think the reason it took so long to adjust to everything is because this is a game which was always meant to be played for hundreds of hours. Like, at the moment, I've currently played just over 25 hours, so this video cannot be reflective of my whole experience. There are still many things to do and learn, like learning things about alchemy, potions, finding bombs to destroy monster nests, find characters that I've not even met yet, and discover new areas. You can imagine, first time when you look at the map, how overwhelmed I may have been. I thought, how can I get into this game? With all the main quests, side quests and DLC crammed into an SD card for the Switch, it's no wonder that I have barely made any progress, because I end up playing other video games on top of this. That sounds like a bad thing, but believe me, it isn't. This is one of a very few games which I can come back to again and again. I might not touch it for weeks, even months, but I'll be back. I cannot stop praising CD Projekt Red and Saber Interactive for this. If Link's Awakening is how a remake is done, this is how you port a game over to a less powerful console. That alone makes this game near perfection. Eventually I mastered the controls, I got to learn more about combat and how basic things work. While I don't think the combat system in this game is the best I've ever seen in any game, after a while I started having fun with it, especially when coming up against tough enemies like Griffin. I need to learn more about Gwent though, because I keep getting beat by this prick with the bow. I won't even repeat the language that I shouted out every time I got beat by this guy. Let's just say it's language that I've never used on these videos. When I get like this, it shows that I have a passion of wanting to win. I got very frustrated, but I always just wanted to do it. And I've still not done it, but eventually I will. I just need to find more cards and make my Gwent deck more powerful. I've just about got used to the leveling up system in this as well. Right now I'm focusing on enhancing my signs. The one I use most is Igni. I've got to kill all those damn wolves. Get myself some raw meat. I'm around level 12 at the minute, so there's still a long way to go, and like I said, there's still many things to learn about with this game. It's been about a week since the last time I picked this up, and since then I've been focusing on making YouTube videos, including this one. The Witcher 3, I think, is one of those games which you have to be in the right mood for. When I'm in the mood, then do I play it? I play it for a long time. I've gone from someone who thought it was alright to someone who could play it for hours without getting bored. My conclusion is that I still have a lot to learn about this game, as I've just said. This is no definitive review, but then again, is anyone's? In the grand scheme of things, this review does not make that much of a difference, whether you love or hate the Witcher series. Perhaps I'll do another video on this in a few years' time. Who knows? One thing I can take away from all of this now is that this is possibly the best action RPG of all time. I think I prefer this to games like Skyrim, because as much as I like Skyrim, that game is filled with so many glitches. Whereas this one, it feels much more polished, shall we say, and there's more things to do in this world, and there's more of a variety with your quests and just how the environment looks and everything like that. I've never known a game which has grown on me so much in such a short space of time. The storyline, the presentation, even on the Switch, the gameplay, and this massive open world fits The Witcher 3 easily into the category for one of the very best forms of video game escapism. Do yourself a favour, buy The Witcher 3 on Nintendo Switch.
Ugly bastard.